Good morning, and it's Sunday morning, and we're going to be having church online today. I'm looking forward to it, engaging with people on Facebook, little comment section. It's great to be able to greet people and also give encouragement to people in that way. We're also hoping maybe to start a new life group soon in the church. It's been really great how God has blessed us and enabled us to expand the system of life groups in the church and include people who perhaps were not included before. It's been a real source of renewal for our church, and we thank God for that. Even in hard times, difficult times, there are signs of God at work in people's lives, in individuals' lives. I was talking to somebody who many years ago nearly got baptized at our church. 50 years ago, an older person. And I just happened to meet them. And as we've talked and prayed together, their faith has come alive again. And so that was not wasted. I don't know what the pastor at that time thought when this person, didn't go through with the baptism. Maybe they felt disappointed. But there are seeds sown in people's lives that we may never see the fruition and the harvest of. Believe it. God is at work in our world. God is at work in the lives of those around us. Everything that we have done for God is not wasted. And I want to share with you a verse from Genesis 50 verse 20 today, where this is towards the end of Joseph's life. His father Jacob has just died, and his brothers are a little bit worried that now their dad is dead, that this is the time that Joseph will try and seek revenge for what they did to him, selling him into slavery earlier on in the story. Now that the protection given by their father's love for Joseph is out of the way. And Joseph says, no, look, you intended this for evil. You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good, for the salvation of many people, because obviously during the famine, he was able to save many people's lives. God intended it, but God intended it for good. And I think this is something that we need to remember. In our lives, there are many things which are disappointing. There are many things which are not just disappointing, but extremely painful. There may be circumstances which go wrong, hopes which are not fulfilled. Not sinful desires, but actually good things that we would like for ourselves and for others, and they'd never materialize. There may be people that harm us. Maybe it's the attacks of the enemy, the devil. But God intended it for good. God has a purpose. Now, I'm not going to get involved in the theological, philosophical questions of why does God allow evil, not in this short talk. But God is sovereign, and he understands what's going on, and he knows what's going on, and he intends it ultimately for good. And this is something that we find difficult to think about. And maybe it's only in hindsight sometimes we can see how it worked for good. But sometimes in this life, even with hindsight, we can't see. And certainly in the middle of a situation, we often can't see, what good is this doing, God? Job never saw in his lifetime on earth the reason why he went through the suffering he went through. The devil challenged God, and there's a spiritual battle going on in the heavenlies. Job in this life never knew that. Presumably when he went to glory, he found out. But in this life, he never knew. And sometimes we don't know what the good is that is being done in situations where we and other people are suffering. We don't understand that. One theologian talked about it as eschatological verification. Well, that means that sometimes it only becomes clear, or it will only become clear when we go to be with God and we get his overview of things. That's about faith, and it's about trust. It doesn't mean these things are good, they're not bad, they're still bad. It says in Romans 8:28 that in all things God works for the good of those who love him and are called according to his purpose. We don't always understand how. We may not see how. But one day it will become clear. And we live for that day. In the meantime, we try to be faithful. In Psalm 105 verse 18, referring to Joseph, it says his neck was laid in iron until what he foretold came to pass. There was a process of learning, a process that he had to undergo. Perhaps if you'd asked Joseph at any time before this moment, in Genesis 50:20, maybe if you'd asked him 10 years before, 20 years before, maybe he wouldn't have been able to say that. I mean, we can say it in theory, we can say it as an article of faith, but whether we feel it or not, whether it's really real to us, may take a time for us to learn the ways of God, to learn how God operates. There may be many things that you may have liked, that I may have liked in my life, that weren't bad, they weren't evil, they weren't sinful, but just God did not want them for me or for you, for whatever reason. Maybe we couldn't have handled them. But God is sovereign and he is loving towards you. And whatever you are going through, and I know this may be difficult for some people to hear, whatever you are going through at the moment, God intends it ultimately for good. He is sovereign. And in the Lord's Prayer we say, your will be done. We surrender, we submit to his lordship. Now maybe we can say that with words, but not with our feelings. Maybe we can't even say it with words. But God is taking you through a process of growth and spiritual development until that time when you and I can say those words, your will be done. God intended it for good, and mean it and feel it. This is God's will for you because he loves you. Father God, thank you that you love us. Thank you that you intend for our good the circumstances that we are in and going through. Thank you that in all things you work for good for us. Thank you that as we say your will be done and we surrender to you, that we experience your joy, your fulfillment, your purpose in our lives. Thank you. So thanks for being with me today. And just to remind you, our services are being shared on Facebook Live, 11 o'clock on Sunday mornings, 1:30 in the afternoon on Sundays for our French language service. And from this week, the 21st of January, on Thursdays at 7 o'clock, our midweek service, Breathe, will also be back shared live on Facebook. Our small groups are meeting and you're welcome to join us. Just let us know if you're not part of a group. If you have a prayer request, please do send it in to us and our intercessors would love to pray for you. So thanks for being with me. God bless you. God be with you, and he is with you. Amen.